Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Tsongalo, and welcome back to part 2 of the 7-part series that we're busy with, called The Success Equation. If you missed part 1, I strongly suggest that you go back, check it out, because we have laid a foundation of what we were talking about. We are talking about the principles, the tools, and the systems that govern success. What will help you reach a certain level of success in whatever area of your life it is that you want to achieve success. One thing that we also talked about in the previous episode, or the part 1, was the fact that what I define as success is not necessarily your definition of success. But at the backdrop of it all is the fact that with success, there should be a certain level of personal fulfillment that you experience. It is very important that knowing that what success, or your definition of success, is based on what your values are, it's based on what your priorities are. And as a result, failure to do a deep dive into what it is that you value, what it is that you prioritize, always leaves you vulnerable to taking influences from the outside and now trying to navigate your way and trying to build a definition of what success is, which does not necessarily resonate with who you are. Now, with that being said, with that understanding of the fact that success is fluid and it's dynamic and it changes in different seasons, it changes in different stages of our lives. What I perceived as success 10 years ago is not necessarily what I perceive as success right now, and it's okay because our values change, our priorities change. But what is so important is that at the end of the day, personal fulfillment is the key to establishing a long-lasting definition of what success is for you. Now, last time we talked about accountability. Do check the video out. Make sure that you have an understanding of where accountability falls into the success equation. Today we are on part 2, so if you're joining us for the first time, you are so welcome. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for the love, thank you so much for the likes, thank you so much for the shares, thank you so much for continuing to subscribe. Now, today I wanted to talk about another element, or another factor, or another principle that will help you get to a level of success in your life. It's part of the success equation, and that which I want to talk about is adaptability. It's so important to understand how adaptability plays a role in your journey of success. It's so important to understand how to apply it in our lives, because sometimes not having a clear understanding of what something means, you misapply it and you misinterpret it, and you find yourself not understanding, why is this thing not working for me? So, you know me and definitions, right? I've got my notes ready. I've got my notes here so that I don't miss anything that I wanted us to talk about. So, per definition, I've got a definition of what adaptability is. So, I'm going to read it. It says, adaptability is the ability to adjust and thrive in response to new circumstances, challenges, or changing environments. I'll repeat it. The ability to adjust and thrive in response to new circumstances, challenges, or changing environments. Now, what this definition gives is the connotation of what I believe adaptability has carried for such a long time. It is what people perceive, or people connect as adaptability. Basically, it's the term resilience, the ability to bounce back. So a lot of the times when people use the word adaptability, and hey, there's a lot of applause and there's a hoo-ha about, this person is able to adapt. They are able to bounce back regardless of what is thrown at them. They are able to bounce back. And they make resilience as sometimes something to be applauded. But if we carry the analogy, I want to use the analogy of a trampoline. For instance, if we are going to say that adaptability is the ability to bounce back, it's resilience, having that ability to bounce back to the same position or to a higher position than you previously were, then it means that there is a recoil effect. You have been beaten down, you are down. Now something has to help you bounce back to a particular level or to a higher level. Now, this can be misunderstood, or rather, if we just look at it on that level and give it applause and acknowledgement on the level of it being the ability to bounce back, we fail to recognize the energy intensity that is required for one to be able to bounce back to a previous position of function or even a higher level of function. We negate the fact that that bounce back ability is very energy intensive, and as a result it gets you using your energy reserves that you have kept in your inventory or you've kept to help you in certain situations. And as a result, if you're constantly being in positions where you have to constantly bounce back, this is energy intensive all the time. You are always in a high function environment all the time. You're always having to employ your energy, to use your energy. This can create an otherwise very toxic environment because you're constantly using your reserves to a point where you are depleted. And one of the things that we tend to ignore or not realize is that sometimes the previous level of function that you were functioning on, it took you 10 or 20 years to get to that level. And as a result, it was a build-up process to get there. Now, a certain situation comes and you want to quickly bounce back. What took you 20 years, now you want to do it in 2 years. What took you 20 years, now you want to do it in 2 months. And as a result, the amount of energy that you have to use to be able to cover whatever it is that you've done in 20 years, now you want to do it in 2 months. That is a lot of energy that you have to expand. And because of the fact that you want to quickly get back to your previous level of function, you find yourself doing everything that it takes for you not to be perceived as being down and out. And as a result, you find yourself being totally depleted because you want to cover the element of time. And I want us to explore this a bit further. Because of the fact that we live in a constantly changing world and a constantly changing environment, we can be left destabilized and us having lost our footing and quickly wanting to bounce back to that level of previous function. And when we start realizing or understanding the energy intensity that resilience requires, we realize that it's actually not advisable to constantly be depleting your energy reserves because you want to quickly come back to your previous level of function. You want to bounce back quickly so that you are not perceived to be down and out. But in order to be able to function or to use adaptability effectively, you can't always be employing a bounce back mentality, but rather start developing a proactive approach to life, proactive adaptability. What do I mean by this? Look, time can be your enemy and time can be your friend as well. But a failure to value and manage time effectively will always leave you vulnerable. Because if you are not accountable for your time, you are able to spend it recklessly. We were talking about accountability yesterday, or we were talking about accountability in the previous installment, or part one of the series of the success equation. And one thing that we're talking about when it comes to accountability is that accountability is more committed to the vision. It's more committed to your goals. It's more committed to your to whatever aspirations that you have, then it is committed to you. Because if it is more committed to you than it is to the vision, it will end up allowing you to sabotage the process by allowing you to go back to your comfort zones, by to function in the level of your comfort and continue compromising yourself or compromising things that you're supposed to do in order to achieve that vision or that goal. But because of the fact that accountability needs to be reproducible, it needs to reproduce the results. It cannot be built on the constructs that are self-sabotaging. Hence why it will always be more committed. It needs to be more committed to the vision and to the goal more than it is committed to you. So one of the things is accountability, our accountability for time. Because if you lack accountability for time, your consistency is killed. And because of the fact that your consistency is killed, you fall into the trap of what I call the deception of time. Because if you lack accountability, you will always think you have time. Because you have based your estimations on how you value your skill set, your agility, and the fact that you have not factored into the into your estimations the element of change. Accountability factors into whatever it is, or its estimations or its calculations, the notion of change. We said in our definition, I'll repeat it, it's the ability to adjust and thrive in response to new circumstances, challenges, or changing environments. So, adaptability within itself, it is cognizant of the fact that change is here to stay. But if you have overestimated your own abilities, you've overvalued your own skill set, and now you feel like it is unnecessary for you to be accountable for your time, you will always find yourself falling short of what it is that you need to do because of the fact that you have left out the element of change. Hence why all the time you have to bounce back. How do I bounce back from this? How bounce this? Because you fail to employ accountability. Now, let's look at this. If you understand, or you start understanding that the deception of time, let me explain what the deception of time is about. You know that time we've got a very subjective perception of time. For instance, if you're doing something that is difficult, like exercising or a plank, you're doing a 30-second plank, né? That 30 seconds can feel like 30 minutes. Because of the fact that at that process, or in that process, you are destabilized, you're out of your comfort zone, you are experiencing pain, you're experiencing pressure. And a lot of the times in life, when we find ourselves in situations where we're experiencing pressure, we're experiencing pain, we want to look for shortcuts so that we can alleviate the pain that we are feeling. But when we're doing something that we're enjoying, 30 seconds really feels like 3 seconds. Feels like, really? Where did the time go? Because of the fact that there is a personal, subjective perception of time. You cannot rely on your own agility, efficacy to be able to govern how you go about with time if you do not employ accountability for time. Okay. If we start understanding that energy, like resilience, is very energy intensive, you start realizing that it is not advisable to constantly be in a state whereby you have to be resilient. You always have to be bouncing back. You always have to be you always have to be in a state whereby now you are utilizing a high level or intensity of a high level energy. You always have to be in that state. You will start developing a proactive approach to life. What do I mean by this? If you create an environment whereby you engage, or create a space where you engage in self-reflection, you engage with planning, with research, with emotional processing, you are able to have a proactive approach to life. And as a result, that proactive approach to life will not leave you in a position where you are caught off guard by the elements of life. If there's one thing that can be guaranteed about life, is change. Don't let change catch you off guard and now you start applauding yourself, or now I'm resilient. That approach or element or employment or deployment of adaptability is not an empowering sense of adaptability, because it's going to deplete your energy reserves, but rather immerse yourself in creating systems of accountability so that you can have a more forecasted approach to life and change does not catch you off guard. Thank you, everybody. Meet you in part 3 of our series called The Success Equation. Mwah. Love you.